All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick's Around the Power. So I wanted to make a detailed video about Classic Physique and what I think about the Classic Physique division as a whole. Now, I've done a similar video to this on men's physique, and I called it The Truth About Men's Physique. So this video is going to be The Truth About Classic Physique. So in this video, I want to talk about my opinion of the Classic Physique division overall, the things that I think they're doing right, the things that I think they've done wrong, and some of the things that I think they're doing that are just straight up bullshit. So right off the bat, I want to say that I think Classic Physique is the best addition that the IFBB/NPC has made to their shows in a very, very long time. So they've added bikini, they've added women's physique, they've added women's figure, they've added men's physique, all these things that they've added over the years. I believe that Classic Physique is the smartest, the best, and probably going to be the most impactful of all the divisions that they've ever added. Now, here's the reason I say that. The divisions that they've added in the past have really been a way to make money for them. The IFBB and the NPC, they are a business. They are looking to make money, especially in the NPC where they're charging hundreds of dollars for someone to compete in a show. Then they have divisions like bikini and men's physique where they have hundreds of competitors paying hundreds of dollars just to compete in one show, and they are making buku bucks out of every single show that they do. That's the primary reason that bikini and figure and men's physique, they want to appeal to the mainstream and get as many competitors as possible to make as much money for the promoters as possible, which in turn will make as much money for the organization as possible. Now, Classic Physique is very, very different from those two categories because the reason they introduced Classic Physique is because people, the fans, were really expressing, their disdain for what was happening in men's open bodybuilding. The bubble gut thing happened. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger saying he didn't want people winning his show that had a gut. You had major people in the industry speaking out about the direction that bodybuilding was headed, and lo and behold, less than 1 year later, the Classic Physique division was introduced to bodybuilding. So the Classic Physique division, it really wasn't about money. I genuinely believe that. I think that the people behind the scenes were paying attention to what the fans were saying. They were paying attention to what Arnold was saying. They were paying attention to what the big names in the sport were saying. And they were starting to see that people really appreciated and missed that classic ideal, that Classic Physique. They weren't as crazy about the mass monsters as they used to be. They were kind of reminiscing and missing that classic look. So I think they made that division as a response to the fans, which I think is a very, very good move. And that's what sets the division apart from these other divisions that they have, which they kind of made, I believe, with money in mind. I believe those other divisions were introduced as a way to encourage as many people as possible to compete, which in turn, creates as much revenue as possible for that organization. But Classic Physique, I think, is a different thing entirely. I think that was a response to the fans, and I think that is a very good thing. However, I did say there are some things that I disagree with in Classic Physique and some things that I think were quote-unquote bullshit. So let's get started with that a little bit. So honestly, guys, the amount of money that these guys get paid, I think it is absolutely ridiculous. They are screwing these Classic Physique guys entirely. And I also said this in my men's physique video because I believe the men's physique guys are getting screwed. Even though I'm not really a fan of men's physique, I don't watch it, I don't really follow it, I still think they deserve more money than they're getting to be the best in the world in their particular discipline. Whether you want to call it a sport, a pageant, it is a discipline. And the person that wins the Olympia is the best in the world at that particular discipline. So Classic Physique, the total prize money split between the top 5 is $30,000. To give you guys some perspective on that, Phil Heath alone in 2017 won $400,000. So Phil Heath, just one bodybuilder for winning the Mr. Olympia, won more than 10 times what the entire division of Classic Physique got paid at the 2017 Olympia. So Breon Ainsley, who got first place and won the Classic Physique Olympia in 2017, his total payout was $20,000. Let's look over at what Phil Heath made again. $400,000. 20 times what Breon Ainsley made. Now, do you think Phil Heath looks 20 times better than Breon Ainsley? Do you think that Phil Heath works 20 times harder than Breon Ainsley? And do you think 20 times the fans prefer Phil Heath's physique than Breon Ainsley's physique? So that's the question I ask. Is that pay gap justified? Now, I would say that Mr. Olympia probably deserves to get paid more than Classic Physique Olympia. I mean, this is the Mr. Olympia that's been around the longest. It has the most history. It has the most prestige. So I do see why he would get paid more. but 20 times what Classic Physique gets paid, I think that is a tremendous pay gap, and it's just completely unreasonable. So in Classic Physique, there's a massive drop in prize money from first to second place. So Chris Bumstead, who many of you guys are familiar with, he only got $8,000 for that second place finish at the Mr. Olympia. So let's compare that to Big Ramy, who got second place at the 2017 Mr. Olympia. He got $150,000. So let's go down to third place. So George Peterson got third place in the Classic Physique Olympia. He got $4 grand for placing third. William Bonac in the Men's Open Olympia got $100,000. So now we're talking 25 times the prize money between Men's Open and Classic Physique. So back to Classic Physique, Arash Rabar in fourth place. He won $2,000. Dexter Jackson, fourth place in Men's Open Olympia, $55,000. So now we are over 25 times in a difference between Open and Classic Physique. And finally, we have fifth place in Classic Physique. Danny Hester won $1,000. And fifth place at the Mr. Olympia, Sean Roden won $45,000. So 45 times what the fifth place in Classic Physique got. Do you guys think that the pay gap should be that big? Because me personally, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely embarrassing, to be honest with you guys. So the number one thing that I believe needs to be fixed and justified and rectified is the fact that these Classic Physique guys are getting screwed. I mean, look how popular they are. It's not like nobody cares about the division. Everybody is talking about it. Every YouTuber, every Instagrammer, every bodybuilding blogger, every fan of bodybuilding is interested in this Classic Physique division. Everybody is talking about it. Every single bodybuilding outlet is hyped about Classic Physique. Muscular Development Magazine, I noticed their past couple issues, they've been putting Classic Physique guys on the cover and not Men's Open bodybuilders. Classic Physique, this is where it's at. So to give these guys 30 grand to split amongst the 5 best in the world is an absolute slap in the face to me. I think that's just the most insulting thing that they could ever do, because imagine how much money they're making off these guys. And this is what I said in the Men's Physique video. They're probably making, I guarantee they're making millions of dollars from the Men's Physique division, as many competitors as they have, especially in the amateur ranks. And they pay the Men's Physique guys $20,000 to split amongst the top guys at the Olympia. So number one issue is I think Classic Physique guys aren't getting paid nearly what they deserve to get paid. Now the second issue, I think the second issue is the fact that they keep increasing the weight. So I think they need to stop where they're at now. So they've increased the weight, I believe 2 or even 3 times now in 5-pound increments each of those times. So I think where it's at right now is a pretty good spot, and increasing it any more than it's at, I think is starting to push it a little bit too big. I think it's probably in a really sweet spot right now. They probably did need to gain an extra 5 pounds on that division. So for those of you who don't know how it works, Classic Physique is by height and by weight. So depending on how tall you are, they give you guidelines for how much you can or cannot weigh. So for each of those categories, they added 5 pounds recently. So I think it was probably... it wasn't a very big deal. 5 pounds is not that big of a deal. But I think it's a very slippery slope if this is going to be something they do every single year, which so far, there's only been 2 years of Classic Physique at the Olympia. They've done it every single year so far. So the third thing that I would say critically of the Classic Physique division is they really need to nail down what they're looking for in terms of judging criteria. Now, if you look at the 2016 Mr. Olympia Classic Physique winner, Danny Hester, and compare him to Breon Ainsley, who won the 2017 Mr. Olympia, I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking at 2 very, very different physiques between these 2 guys. And Breon Ainsley did compete in 2016, so either the judging criteria changed and they couldn't make up their mind on what they wanted to see, or they just thought that Breon looked that much better this year. But I think they definitely need to establish a standard of what they're looking for, so that, the Mr. Olympia winner, there's a certain look that we know that they're going to be looking for when we're judging these competitions and when we're watching as fans. Because honestly, going into 2018, I have no idea who's going to win the 2018 Classic Physique Olympia. It's honestly just a giant toss-up. I mean, any one of these guys could win it, because I'm still not really sure entirely on what the judges are looking for. So do I think Classic Physique is going to surpass Men's Open bodybuilding in popularity? Now, honestly, I'm going to say no. It's something that I would like to see pass up Men's Open bodybuilding in popularity. But again, Men's Open bodybuilding, the Men's Open Mr. Olympia has the longest history. It has the most fans, honestly. People want to see the big freaks. Back in the day, the thing that sold bodybuilding magazines was that big freak on the cover and getting someone to pick up that magazine. I think it's a very similar thing, whether it be, photos on a website. The photos that are going to get the most clicks are going to be photos of the big freak like Big Ramy. People are always going to want to watch the freak show. They're going to want to see how far someone can push the human body, and that's fine. I mean, I enjoy watching it as well. I'm a fan of men's open bodybuilding. I don't think men's open bodybuilding is in any jeopardy of going anywhere because of Classic Physique. Now, what I do think is there's probably going to be a lot of guys crossing over from men's open bodybuilding to Classic Physique that weren't placing well in men's open bodybuilding, because men's open bodybuilding seems to be looking for the mass monster. They seem to be looking for the guy with the most size, and we're not seeing what we used to see back in the 90s, where we'd see a guy like Sean Ray, a smaller bodybuilder, beat a bigger guy because he had better aesthetics and better proportions and better conditioning. We don't see what we saw with guys like Lee Labrada, Danny Padilla, Franco Colombo. Back in the day, we would see smaller guys beat bigger guys all the time because the proportions of the smaller guys were much better than the bigger guys. But now we almost never see a smaller bodybuilder beat a bigger bodybuilder, regardless of conditioning, regardless of proportion, regardless of symmetry. It seems like the bigger bodybuilder always comes up on top. And a perfect example of that would be Big Ramy versus William Bonac at the 2017 Mr. Olympia. A lot of people think William Bonac had Big Ramy beat at that show. You could probably include myself in that group. But Big Ramy had substantially more muscle than William Bonac, even though I thought William Bonac was much more conditioned, had much better proportions. He definitely beat William Bonac in terms of muscle mass, and I think that's why he got second place and William Bonac got third. And their scores were very, very close at that Olympia, by the way. So back to my point, I think a lot of the guys that are smaller and do have really good physiques, they have really good proportions, they have really good genetics, they have really good conditioning. I think a lot of those guys are going to cross over to Classic Physique because they're going to realize men's open bodybuilding isn't rewarding us anymore. If you want to be a smaller guy and you don't want to be a mass monster, you want to have a good amount of muscle, you want to have a good physique, but you don't want to be, 300 plus pounds in the off season at 5'7", which is a pretty ridiculous standard to be set. You want to look more like a Lee Labrada. You want to look more like a Sean Ray. Those looks aren't being rewarded anymore, and these guys are going to start crossing over. So I think we are going to lose a lot of men's open guys, a lot of 212 guys even, to Classic Physique as the popularity of the division starts to increase. I think there is going to be a lot more money put into it as more supplement companies and a lot more sponsors have the opportunity to see how popular Classic Physique starts to become over time. I think it is very new. It's only been around for 2 years. So I think a lot of the supplement companies are very hesitant to throw around some money at the Classic Physique guys. But I think definitely in the near future, they're going to see how popular it's becoming. 1 year ago, I met Chris Bumstead at the Arnold Classic. I had no idea who he was. I met him at a booth, took a picture with him, didn't know who he was, and now he's arguably one of the most popular Classic Physique guys in the division. Everyone knows who he is. So honestly, I think this division is going to see a meteoric rise. I just think they need to fix, number one, they need to pay these guys what they deserve to be paid. I mean, let's be honest, guys, $30,000, even if the top guy got $30,000 all to himself, I think that would still be a slap in the face. What can you buy with $30,000? 30 grand is poverty level income in most states in America. And he doesn't even make 30 grand. Breon Ainsley got 20 grand for winning the biggest show in Classic Physique. That was his job that year. His job was to win the Mr. Olympia. He won it and he got 20 grand. That's below poverty in most states. So if he trained and dieted his ass off all year with that one goal, that was the only thing he wanted to do that year. That was his main goal. Spent all this money on foods and supplements and all this time on training. And all he got as a reward was $20,000, just assuming he didn't have a sponsor going into it. And honestly, guys, I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I think he deserves to be paid significantly more than that. I think you guys would think that as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about the future of the Classic Physique division. Do you think it's going to have a bright future? Do you think it will ever surpass men's open bodybuilding? And what do you think about the prize money that they offer? Thank you guys for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.